Clarity is concise to our success. It like when you give somebody clarity, like you're like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Right.
Oh, I'm straight now. Oh, I
Now that I know.
misunderstood. Now that I know. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm glad you shared. But when you don't, man, it's like death. It's like the life out of you. It's like I'm in a cave, dark, misunderstood. Yo, and how do you break misunderstanding? By having a conversation.
Having a conversation.
Like I say, I can learn a lot about a person, not only what they don't say, but what they say too. Yo, it's crazy because I was thinking, I was like, as a good humor piece, right? I know before we get into it,
Right.
what funny thing, when you talk to your mom, what is one thing that she always say every time you talk to her? It's like something, when I call my dad, he always talk about this one thing, regardless of what day of the week, what time it is. What is one thing you could say like, yo, every time I call my mom, she gonna say this?
I don't know. She'd probably say, "How G doing?"
Oh,
How G. I don't have like a specific thing that she would say. Maybe tell me what yours is.
My dad, every time, listen, without a shadow of a doubt, if I call him, he's gonna say, how the weather is down there. It don't matter what time of year, what daytime, he gonna ask about the weather.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time, every conversation we have, how's the weather?
Wow.
It's crazy. I thought that was funny. I just wanted to kick it off with that. I don't know how you
It's
feel
pretty
about
funny.
it.
It's pretty funny.
You ain't got one?
I don't.
You do. You
No.
just trying to be funny.
No, I don't.
You
Only thing I
acting
can
real.
think of, she always asks about you. And
That
that's
is
surprising.
so-
come from
that
many
is so
years
nice.
of.
Of
you know how it started.
Oh yeah, I know.
We'll
how it
talk about
started.
that. That's a whole.
That's
nother
a whole
podcast.
nother podcast. We can talk about
Yeah.
that, how it starts. Man, I'm gonna have to write that one down. That's a good one. But yeah, it's so good. I think that when we talk about that, I think that communication and clarity is so important, and I'm like working on it. And this is a podcast to be honest with and transparent. You know me. You've known me for almost 19 years, and you know how the communication has been from me to thee. And you know the level of growth that needs to happen, the growth that has happened. You know where that's at. And I think that it's so important that I, as a man, that I learn how to communicate my thoughts, my emotions to you, to my family, to my friends, to my fellow leaders, comrades, as the list goes, pastors, list goes on and on. I need to be open enough to communicate clearly what I'm thinking and feeling. I feel like we leave people in the dark. I'm gonna let that breathe.
Yeah,
We leave them in the dark with what we're not saying.
that's good.
We leave them in the dark what we did not express. And we expect what we did not say.
I think that's because oftentimes when you're in let's say a marriage or a relationship, we get actions confused with words. And depending on what way your love language is, it can affect all the dynamics of the relationship. Because you could say, well, you know, I love you because I do these things. Or, you know, I care about you because I did this, or I pay the bills, I bring home the bacon. No shade.
No shade.
No shade.
Humbly speaking.
Humbly speaking. But did you say that you love me? Did you communicate that? And I think we, like you said, we leave each other in the dark when we don't say how we feel. We just express it through our actions. And depending on how the other one receives their love language can be detrimental to the relationship if not done properly.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think we talked about this. I talked about this in the men's group that we hold, is that, you know, women's level of intimacy is through most often communication.
Yeah.
Talk time, pillow talk, and it's common conversation. It don't always, I don't think with you have to be how beautiful you are, even though that's important. I don't think like what you're requiring of me as a man is an opportunity to get to know me.
I remember early off in our marriage, and I don't do it as
Oh
much
Lord,
as I.
we finna expose now, huh?
Come on. Let's.
Oh, you Rick, you
we
gonna
said
red
we going there
you
now.
gonna red carpet me?
Oh, come on up here.
Oh Lord, here we
Stand
go.
at attention.
Platoon of 10.
But early off in our marriage, and I haven't done it here recently, but I used to always just randomly be like, "What are you thinking? What's on your mind? What are you thinking about?" And you used to be always in that nothing box. Nothing.
That was the hardest thing.
Like, bruh, you got to be thinking something. And I think inadvertently that was my way of trying to get you
Probe.
to express how you feel. Because I know that you love me. I know that, and you show me that you love me by taking care of us and making sure that we don't have. You make sure that we're living our best life as a family. But sometimes I want to know what makes you scared. What makes you nervous? Like, because it's easy as a man to say, "Oh, I'm not scared. I'm not nervous. I got it all together. I go to work. I do my job. I'm great at my job. And here I am, the husband of the world." But I know something. What makes you excited? How was your day? Can turn into a whole conversation. And for me, that opens me up to a whole nother level of intimacy. But if you just give me good, fine, it was great, that I felt like you were not allowing me in. Because, you know, it's when I can't speak for all women. Let me preface that. As women, we want to know it all.
Y'all
Give
do.
us all the details.
Lord have mercy.
Give me all the receipts. I want it all. And when I express myself to you, I feel like I overly express. Like, I don't think there's anything that you can say, "Well, you never told me that." Like, because I tell you when I'm nervous. I tell you when I'm afraid. I tell you when I feel like a failure. I tell you when, I don't have a issue telling you how I feel. And I often think, like, where did I get that from? Why am I so open? Because I was never raised that way. Like, in my household, it wasn't like I saw my mom and my dad communicate on those intimate levels. Like, so sometimes I'm like, "Lord, why am I so open? Why do I feel like I have to?" And I think it's just because you're just such a good person to talk to. Like, I think I've made you my safe space over the years. And I was trying to pull that let you know that I was the safe place for you to do the same. But I think at some point, I felt like maybe I wasn't a safe place. And I thought that's why you wouldn't share.
And I'm changing body positions. I got to change positions because this is a good conversation. I think that it was difficult for me to have years ago. Like, I feel more comfortable in where I am as a man now, more secure than I've ever been to have this conversation. I mean, you've had it, and there was moments you're looking like, "Give me something, give me an answer," and I'd be looking like a doofus. And the thing about it is, I could talk to millions of people. I don't probably talk to that many people, but I could talk to anybody and connect somehow. It doesn't matter what level of life, economic status, whatever the profession is, I can connect somewhere. And I felt like when I came home, it wasn't that I was mean, angry, or lost, confused, but I was not able to communicate. And I think that was a huge disconnection emotionally for us. And the thing that made it even more traumatic and made it worse is the fact because I am a decent, I ain't gonna say I'm the best, communicator externally.
And an extreme extrovert.
Extreme extrovert. And then I come home, I'm like a bear in the cave, hibernating, off in the corner, ain't saying nothing. And I feel like, yo, where did I get that? Like, why is that? Like, so sharing my emotions, saying like, "Tell me how you feel, what's on your mind," was so tough. Men was tough for me to do. And you challenged me in a good way, in a healthy way, that made me a better man, minister, friend. Because now I be challenging my male friends. "Tell me what you feeling, man."
So now you...
So now you're going to take it and
Right.
So what's on your heart, man? Like, tell me how you feel. Like, I be running that with the homies now. And they be mad. Like, "Man, you going to let my wife be on that. She be on that." But it's made me learn to appreciate the fabric of friendship that deals in the life of communication and clarity. And I think that clarity is concise to our success. It like when you give somebody clarity, like you're like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Right.
Oh, I'm straight now. Oh, I
Now that I know.
misunderstood. Now that I know. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm glad you shared. But when you don't, man, it's like death. It's like the life out of you. It's like I'm in a cave, dark, misunderstood. Yo, and how do you break misunderstanding? By having a conversation.
Having a conversation.
Like I say, I can learn a lot about a person, not only what they don't say, but what they say too. Both of them speak loud. And if I'm not listening or willing to address that, man, how can we grow? You know what I mean? And so I feel like I've grown. I do, but I don't gauge me as the final litmus test. Like I'm not like the final assessor of me. I let you tell it. Like I let my friends tell it. Like how am I to you? That's a tough one. Asking your friends like, am I a good friend?
Right.
Asking you, am I a good husband? What can I work on? Who wants to hear the response?
The real one, anyway.
The real one, the real response. And so I'm like, communication and clarity is everything to me.
I think communication has to pair with clarity, because when you don't have that open communication, there leads to a breakdown of intent. And the reason why I say that is because I can remember when you first started recruiting.
Oh Lord,
And I
have
used to
mercy.
always say, how was your day? You know, how's it going? And you'd always give me them one word answers. And that made me feel like some type of way, you know what I'm saying, as a wife. So I didn't have an understanding of why you were so closed off in that portion of our marriage. And that was a rough time for us when you transitioned into recruiting, because I felt left out. I feel like, well, what's going on that is so secretive? Is this like a secret society he done joined, or what's really going on? But that one day we had that
I remember
heated
sitting
fellowship.
sitting on that couch.
And you sit on this one right.
We was right
This
there.
one right here.
There's
Praise
deliverance
God.
in the
Hallelujah.
couch.
Thank you, Jesus.
Deliverance in the couch.
And so, come on, that's it right there. Deliverance on this same couch brought deliverance. But you said, and then you just opened up and was like, you know, telling me what was going on. And I said, well, that's all you had to say? That one conversation.
Wow.
And you were just telling me how stressful it was and da-da-da. And I'm like, that's all I needed. I just needed you to let me in. And not that I had all the right answers, not that I was going to come up to the office and fix it.
I didn't want you to either.
I just wanted to know what was going on, bring clarity, give me peace that is not me. And I think a lot of times that's where we miss it, because we're not clear and we're not concise, we're not communicating, we're not letting the other person know what's on our mind and what we're going through, so that can take the weight off the person.
Right.
And they don't feel like it's them, or they don't feel like they have to fix it, but they can just be that listening ear.
And you know how much of a weight that was for me to be lifted? You just don't imagine how much of a weight that lifted off of me, and I didn't even know it. Like you really healed me in that moment, and I didn't even know like how much of a weight lifted off of me when I told you how I felt about recruiting. Because I was giving so much time, you remember, and energy to recruiting.
I remember.
And I told this one recruiter, the word of wisdom I give to you, and all my awards I done got, I got a closet, a room full of awards for recruiting. I said, in all of those awards, I said, don't lose yourself and don't lose your marriage in the midst of recruiting. I said, because recruiting is a beast that's always hungry. As don't matter how much you feed it, how much you stuff it, how many Thanksgiving breaks, how many drinks, how many shakes, it's still hungry. And I said, you will lose yourself in it if you're not careful, and you will lose your marriage. I said, I'm telling you from experience. I had a counsel with a recruiter about this. I said, I'm telling you from experience, don't do it.
Yeah.
And I said, and I said, you looking at me like, Sir Garnier, well, you successful. I said, at what cost though? It costs to be the boss, and I ain't trying to be all, but it costs to be at the top. It costs to be number one. It costs to be Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson and Prince and Bill Gates and all of the greats. It costs to be Warren Buffett. It costs. And so, Steve Jobs, because people don't realize what they've sacrificed to get there. Yeah. And I believe that holistically, that if we could communicate our flaws or our hurt, our choke points to somebody, we would have a better transition to the top. Because my way to the top was rough. Like, it was very rough. It was rough on you, on me, and I didn't even know it. I didn't know how bad it affected you, let alone me. I was just in a cave, in a cubby hole. And I learned, it's a learned trait. I learned it by watching my father be the same way. I didn't communicate with him much. He didn't communicate with me much, but he provided. And so, in all of his success, in all of his properties he owned, beautiful home, everything we needed to come from the west side of Chicago to the west suburbs of Chicago in a retirement neighborhood. We had everything as kids we could have possibly wanted. And the dream and the goal I had was for my kids to have the same thing. But if we're not careful, we'll fall down that trait and that trap, give them everything they want except for us. And I don't want to get to the point where I give my family everything except for me.
Wow.
I've given them the world, beautiful home, car. They can go eat out any time of the week. It was a privilege to go to McDonald's when I was growing up. A 25-cent cheeseburger was an honor.
Yeah.
Now them suckers can eat at hibachi every night. They eating seafood bags. We paying $80 a night. And they don't realize what we gave to get to that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give so much of that and not me. Because that is really not me. That's what I learned from my father. But where is Gino? Where does he have to give? I never heard myself say it like that before.
That's good.
I'm just being real. This is the first time I've ever really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I give you everything, but not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What John Legend say? I give you all of me. Was that
All
John
of
Legend?
me loves all of you.
Loves all of you. Not just the gifts, but me. Like, when do we become the gift? You feel me? Like, you're a gift to me. I don't think I tell you enough, though. You're a gift. And, like, I can't appreciate you enough for who you are as a person. And it's like, I can't buy you enough bags.
Well, you.
Or
yeah.
can't.
Well.
Or can I? I may can't. I feel like you're a gift to people. I believe our kids are gifts to people, not just to us. And how do you value that in everyday life? And so I think we have to dial back and really just talk. I think talking, communicating is some of the best therapy and love affection you can give a person. If me and my dad just sit on the couch and just talk, hey son, how you feeling? How did life treat you, man, when you were in the army and back in this day? Like, that's deep to me. Like, that almost brings me to tears because I never knew that. And to learn that in my late 30s,
Wow.
now as a 40-year-old man, that's tough.
Yeah.
It's work. It's work, but it's rewarding.
I think, and that's so good that you said that. I think that communication is healing. Communication is definitely healing, because if we could have those tough conversations with our parents, because if we're not careful, we'll become what we're trying so hard not to be.
Wow.
I'm trying so hard not to be this person, but if I don't communicate, guess what? I'll end up being just the person that I'm trying so hard not to be.
Not to be.
So having to grow up in your mid-30s when you're thinking I should have life all figured out by now, but not even realizing you're bringing years of baggage alone that you haven't addressed because of lack of communication and being clear on where you are, who you are, and nobody loved you enough to point it out. And I think sometimes we get love mixed up with abuse, because if somebody points out my flaw, then I'm offended. But when do we get to the point where we say, you love me because you pointed it out?
Wow. I think that's so good. I think that we've learned that correction is bad. Because when you get in trouble, you get a whooping. You get grounded. You get things restricted. Some people get beat. Some kids get beat. I'm talking about a whooping. Talking about literally abuse. And I think because of something that they did that was assumed to be wrong. And I think that we've learned life that way. No is almost an abusive word to some people. No, you're not gonna have that. No, I'm not getting that. And I think that as parents, if we're not careful, what we're really trying to say is we're trying to build gates up to safety for you. And all of it is not bad, no. Some of this is no, not right now. No, you're getting F's. Come on, you're not getting no, absolutely not. No, your room dirty.
Right.
No. The trash still, no. I'm still looking at, no, So some of that stuff, they think, oh, that's so mean. All we're trying to do is build up gates around responsibility. And I think if we take responsibility for our actions, our tongue, our thoughts, govern that with a no. Why are you thinking that? Stop, that's evil. No. Why are you so mean? No. Why did you stop talking to them? That wasn't right. You should communicate. No. We begin to govern ourselves with that instead of looking at it as feeling as though it was abuse. It's all about how you deal with it. How you deal with it. Just because I say no don't mean I don't love you. I'm trying to protect you sometimes. And I think that's one of the biggest languages we can leave with people is protection. But how do you know it's protection if you've never been loved or taught to that point? I'm thrown into that. I'm really, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had more often.
Oh, yeah.
Because you taught me how to communicate. You taught me. I call you you my little mental health, especially without the no license. So I don't give you too much credit because you ain't got no license.
Almost. Almost there.
But yeah, so I think that communication is definitely something that I'm working on, and I hope that it's getting better. I pray it's getting better. I ain't heard no response yet, but I was
gonna let you speak it into existence.
It's existence, so it get better. It's getting better, but we're so grateful to. I know, I'm grateful to have you. You are a gift, and I believe that if I honor you like a gift, then I would take care of you. Because I did that with all my Christmas gifts. I took care of them. Some I tore up, but most of them I took care of.
Don't tear me up.